Hello and welcome to our final step in the Coleman University Faculty and Employee Orientation Program. In this final step, we'll review the Faculty Handbook. In this overview of the Faculty Handbook, we'll look at appointments and promotions, some of the classroom rules and responsibilities that you have, attendance requirements, grades, how we assess learning here at Coleman University, the academic dishonesty policy, as well as the calendar and miscellaneous policies that you fall under as a faculty member. As adjunct faculty, you're really appointed on a per-course basis. However, we do tend to keep good adjuncts around. So if you do well in your first time teaching a class for us, you'll probably be offered more classes in future. We do look to our adjuncts to fill our open full-time positions, and if you get one of these positions, you will find that you will have greater responsibility and authority placed upon you. As you can tell from this slide, there's a number of must-dos for your classroom. You do need to wear business attire, and that means wearing ties for male professors. You must conform at all times with the published days and meeting times. You are not authorized to change the schedule of any of our courses. In the same vein, you must follow the syllabus, and by that we mean that you must teach toward the stated learning outcomes. You cannot modify the learning outcomes. You cannot modify the official textbook for the course. You do have some freedom of action in terms of when activities are due and how you're going to approach the class itself, but again, you must meet the published time periods and you must also meet the learning outcomes. You may find that there is a key assignment that you're required to perform, and you cannot modify that either. We want you to hold the students accountable for their learning, but at the same time treat them as your customer. We know that's a delicate balance to actually achieve, but we are trying our best, and we hope that you help us in that effort. Attendance requirements for faculty are fairly straightforward. You have to be there, not only on time, but really early enough so that at the moment the class starts, you're ready to teach. That means you may have to be in the classroom a half hour or so early to prepare. Please be courteous enough to call your associate dean if you are not able to make a class for whatever reason. One thing you should do is ensure you have your associate dean's cell phone number, just in case. In terms of student attendance, we do have a policy on that. An absence obviously is when the student doesn't show up, but we also include if the student is more than 30 minutes late or leaves more than 30 minutes early. In the time period between on time and 30 minutes late, the absence depends on the professor and how much material they feel that the student has missed. If a student misses 3 absences or hasn't signed in an online class for more than 2 weeks, the student can be dropped with a failing grade. As a faculty member at Coleman University, you do have a few unique responsibilities when it comes to absent students. On the day of the absence, you need to call, email, or otherwise contact the student to determine what the cause was of the absence. You have to record those reasons and the actions you took in Papa Bear. Again, Papa Bear is our mainframe computer that handles all the student data at this point in time. You need to talk with your associate dean to be trained on how to use Papa Bear and how to make these entries. Make sure you're concise in your entry. You have a limited number of lines of data you can enter. Most importantly, realize that faculty members cannot excuse an absence, period. That level of authority resides in the Dean of Academics and to no one below that. You must record attendance as it happens. If there are extenuating circumstances, you record it within Papa Bear, but the decision of what to do in the event of excessive absences lies with the Dean of Academics. Here you see the grade scale for Coleman University. It is a standardized scale. All classes will use the same percentages and the same breakdown of points. You may note that we do not have a D grade in Coleman. 70% is our minimum standard. If a student does not achieve a final percentage of 70% of the points, then they have failed the class. We must ensure that as faculty we do apply these standards uniformly no matter what. Race, creed, color, none of that matters. Everyone is held to the same standard. Your grades are your grades. When you are entering grades and you need to talk to your associate dean as to how to do that in Papa Bear, your grades will be final. No one will change those grades, and in fact, if you make a mistake entering the grades, the only person that can fix it is the Dean of Academics or the registrar. That is an accrediting agency level concern, and we cannot allow people other than the Dean of Academics and the registrar to change permanent student records. Be aware, however, that students can appeal grades, but there is a formal process they have to go through. When you're finishing your modules, remember that the grades are due by the end of the module, which is the final Friday. It's best if you continually keep your grades up to date and put the final grades in when your course ends. Do not wait until the last minute. It disrupts our entire system. Unlike grading, which is an assessment of whether or not the student has completed the work in a satisfactory manner, assessment itself is trying to determine how well students have reached learning outcomes that were stated in the course syllabus. We have both program level and course level student learning outcomes, and you may be tasked either to help us as we modify and verify our assessment procedure, or even to give a key assignment and to grade it appropriately. Assessment is very important at Coleman University. We want to make sure that our students are learning what they need to know to succeed in the future. There is no tolerance at Coleman University for academic dishonesty. This includes both plagiarism and outright cheating on exams or on homework. You are fully supported in all efforts that you take to ensure that your students remain honest in your classroom. The total range of punishments can go from a 0 grade on an individual effort to actually being dismissed from the university, depending on the number of times a student has been involved in a case of academic dishonesty and the level of that academic dishonesty. Ignorance is not an excuse when it comes to plagiarism. Having said that, we make some allowances for brand new students who may not have had the information coming in to Coleman University, but once they are within Coleman University, we assume they understand the APA formatting rules as they are taught within our classrooms. Coleman's academic calendar is fairly straightforward. We have terms, you'll hear them referred to as mods or modules, each of which is 10 weeks long for the undergraduate students. Our typical start months are January, March, May, August, and October, but as calendars shift, there may be 1 or 2 times where we shift into an earlier or later month. We typically have one module ending on Friday and the next one starting that following Monday. There's not a lot of time between modules, which is one of the reasons why getting your grades in on time is so critical. For graduate students, their terms are half that length, so we get 2 graduate terms in for every undergraduate module that we have. Typically for on-ground classes, as you see here, we'll start them on Mondays and we end on Thursdays. Online starts the previous Saturday and ends on Wednesday. There are a few other policies that will impact you as a faculty member. One is that if you're an adjunct faculty member, we expect you to attend at least 1 graduation per year, and we do have graduations on the Saturday that ends every module. So we have graduations basically 5 times a year. If you're a full-time faculty or a full-time staff, we expect you to attend 3 of the graduations per year. Because as an Institute of Higher Learning, we fall under FERPA, you need to make sure you do not release any academic information, not even to parents. I'm sure they want to hear about how well their child is doing, but legally we cannot release that data. We can only release student performance data to the students themselves. You will also hear a lot of information about ELPs, or our homework requirements, which are mandated both by the Department of Education, ACICS, WASC, and a number of different agencies, both accrediting and governmental. Basic rule of thumb is for every hour a student sits in a classroom, they should have 2 hours of out-of-classroom work. You will see that listed on your syllabi. You need to check and make sure that those numbers make sense and that you do make those assignments. You cannot curtail assignments and therefore reduce the number of homework hours required of a student. That's part of our accreditation requirements. Coleman University does support academic freedom. Realize that academic freedom does not mean you can do whatever you wish to do in your classroom. It has to do with intellectual freedom and what you can say or not say within a classroom. If you are concerned about academic freedom, we strongly recommend that you read our policy, which includes a standardized definition of academic freedom that has been used throughout the academic community for almost 50 years. Part of Coleman University's desire to have faculty involvement in governance is that we use many committees to advise management as to how to best run the university. The Faculty Advisory Board proposes policy directly to our governing board. There are many smaller committees that focus on particular activities and particular issues within the university. If you find this to be of interest, please volunteer for any of the faculty committees. On that same line, if you would like to attend professional training, we strongly encourage you to do so, and we will give you time off if necessary. You may even be able to get reimbursed for some of the costs involved in that training. See your associate dean for details. Well, that's it. You've finished the employee and faculty orientation. You are now ready to go forth and work at Coleman University. Please ensure that all your paperwork, especially your transcripts, are in human resources and have been completely filled out. Remember that not only are you responsible for the policies of the university, the statements and policies in the faculty handbook, and also the statements and policies with the employee handbook. Some of the basic rules of thumb to keep you out of trouble and to ensure that you will do a great job with us: you have to follow the class activities in the syllabus. Again, you have some ability to modify these, but you can't modify the learning outcomes. When it comes to student absences, make sure you call the student, and remember, you cannot excuse student absences. That's not within your purview. Grades need to be in by the final Friday of a mod, if not even earlier, and we do not tolerate academic dishonesty, and we will support you 100% to try to ensure that that does not occur in your classroom. I hope you've enjoyed these brief trainings, and we look forward to working with you at Coleman University in the future. Thanks for your time. Good luck. Bye-bye.